We are happy that you asked this question about this moment. For ascension is indeed an occurrence that happens within this moment. It happens within the now. It is not something that happens off into the distant future. It is not something that happens off in the distant past. It didn't happen on your yesterday, and it won't happen on your tomorrow. Ascension is a fifth dimensional process, and being fifth dimensional, it exists within the now of the one. And so what you need to know within this now about ascension is that you believe that you are in the process of ascending right now. Believing that you are in the process of ascending right now, how that appears to a human perspective would be primarily to hold the belief, to be the master over any doubt. For many of you have been working towards this nowness for your entire lives, and for myriad other lives, and for parallel and alternate lives. And so you are looking at it from the perspective of human time. And from the perspective of human time, it is like the air that is just past the tips of your fingers. No matter how much you reach, it will be past the tips of your fingers. However, if you stand still and just inhale, you will allow that air to enter into your form. Again, that is a very wise question, because of course you have already ascended. You did not begin your identification of this human being in your human self. This identification of the being that you currently identify as yourself is just the lowest frequency of your multidimensional self. And your multidimensional self travels all the way from this reality that you are believing you are limited to, all the way back to source. So you are not moving into ascension. You are returning to your innate state of a higher dimensional being. And so as you move within your beingness of ascension, what you are doing is actually moving up the vibrational ladder, the frequency ladder of your consciousness. And as your consciousness expands into the higher frequencies of reality, your perceptions expand into the higher frequencies of reality. And so therefore, if you are having a beautiful day, you have perhaps meditated, or you're with a loved one, and your consciousness is high, you will look out into your reality and you will feel as though you have already ascended. You are with one that you love, you're in a place that you love, you're filled with unconditional love and joy. Is this not ascension? Yeah. However, if something occurs in your daily life that creates some degree of anxiety or fear, your ascension drops, and you are, say, standing in front of a checkbook and not having money to pay your rent, or driving through traffic, or having 6 tasks that have to be done now and you don't want to do any of them. In those cases, your consciousness is lowered and you feel very much third dimensional. Well, as long as the concept of time is within your hearts and minds, you cannot hold the vibration. For time is something that is specific to your physical reality. So that vibration will just naturally move in and out of your conscious awareness. But if you can remember to hold the belief as often as you possibly can, hold the belief that you are ascending, you are returning to the higher frequency of yourself. And from this third dimensional perspective of yourself, you are having the experience that feels like you are in a process. But when you are in meditation, or perhaps walking in the woods, or having that moment of no time in which your consciousness is calibrated to the fifth dimension and beyond, you know that you are ascended. And from that perspective, you can look down in frequency to your physical self and send that physical reality the knowingness that you are in new earth now. You are ascended now. You are not achieving or finding a way or struggling towards. You are just remembering how to return to yourself, who has always been resonating to that higher frequency. We so appreciate how difficult a task it is while you are holding your third dimensional form to live in that conscious awareness and belief that you are in the fifth dimension right now, that you are already ascended right now, that what you are doing is not achieving or working towards or being good enough or deserving. What you are simply doing is remembering who you have always been. And as you remember who you have always been, then you ignite an energetic pathway that returns you back into the you that you have always been. Initially, you will return into your fifth dimensional expression. But as soon as you have allowed yourself to settle in to this higher expression of the you that you have always been, then you will begin to remember higher and higher frequencies of yourself. Do you have a concluding question or comment that you would like to give? You are your own protection. Your remembrance of your true self is your protection. And so your protection is in the knowing that you are a great multidimensional being and that you are constantly surrounded by unconditional love and multidimensional light. And whatever challenges come into your reality are there because they are assisting you to move forward in the reason for your incarnation. Any challenges that appear to you as you move through your life is information that you have asked to bring into a state of mastery, so that as you move more and more into your higher frequency of yourself, you will have a greater knowingness so that you can assist others. In other words, everything that seems to have gone wrong or bad or is frightening in your life is indeed a lesson. And these lessons are teaching you how it is best to remember yourself. Furthermore, whenever you bring in more light by allowing yourself to surrender into the knowingness of your true self, as you surrender into this knowingness of your true self, and you bring this higher light in through your pineal gland and down into all of your chakras, which will dispense it through every area of your body, you will flush out all of the components of yourself that are afraid that you can't this, or you don't deserve that, or you're not good enough in order to. These lower frequencies of yourself will be flushed out so that you can embrace them in unconditional love and heal them with this unconditional love. And every time, every appearingly individual human heals themselves, they put forth a healing into the collective consciousness of all humans. And they also put forth a healing into the planetary consciousness of Gaia. And so each time every one of our ascending ones moves into a higher frequency expression of themselves and grounds that expression in their knowing by healing the components of their self who cannot believe that they deserve. They have healed all of humanity and all of the planet in an incremental manner. And it may seem that just one person could not make such a huge difference. But as one person becomes two persons, becomes three, becomes 6, becomes 12, becomes 24, and as these numbers progress logarithmically, as these numbers go into that vibronic numbers of 1 and 1 is 2, 2 and 1 is 3, as it progresses in that fashion, like nature, then ascension moves forward free of the limitations of time. We thank you so much for having the courage to ask these questions. For it might appear that everyone would love to ask us a question, but in reality, it takes more courage than one would think to actually ask a question and to believe that you would get an answer. Blessings, and we thank you very much.